Rada with Creative Connors. Today we're going to walk through setting up the Spotline V2 Zero Fleet Sled. You're going to need a small pair of needle nose pliers, 3/16 inch Allen key, pair of clip ring pliers, a 3/4 inch socket on a torque wrench, and you don't need it, but a tape measure would be handy. All right, let's get started. The first thing we've done is we've placed the Zero Fleet Sled roughly where we are going to secure it down. There are 1, 2, 3 places on the front and 3 more on the back side. I've left them loose for now so we can slide left or right wherever our line's coming in when we need it. I have also marked 18.5 inches from this edge here over. This is where our cable line is going to come into the machine. The other piece that we need to measure, I'm going to switch around, is from the face of the bearing to the outside edge is 34.25 inches. You can move the sled when nothing's on it by spinning the lead screw here, and that's going to get us set up correctly so that we can place this and lock it down exactly where we need it. We have static points here on the ground, so if you know that if you don't know where you're going to secure to the deck, but you want to secure to the rails first, you can do that. These must be within 12 inches of the end. So 12 inches from the end, 12 inches from the end, and then centered between those. Once we have our sled roughly placed, we have the carriage located correctly on the whole sled. We're ready to go ahead and put our Spotline down. There are 6 sets of holes. There are 2 at each location. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 holes altogether. You only need to use 6 of them. So we're gonna get our Spotline roughly placed down, and then they are threaded on the sled, so we don't have to worry about any nuts on the bottom. All right, so these are our 1/2 13 by 3.5 inch partly threaded bolts, and we have some 1/2 inch grade 8 fender washers, but you can use a regular washer, regular 1/2 inch washer as well. And I'm just going to get each one of these started, and you can use either one of these holes at any of the locations, but I'm going to use all of the outside holes. So outside here, and then this one is towards the outside of the drum here, and this one towards the outside of the whole machine and the drum here. And just give it a little shake to get those going in. And we're going to do the same thing on the back side. They're directly onto the back. Now we have a 3/4 inch socket, and we want to torque these to 57 foot-pounds. All right, so that's all 3 of the front. I'm gonna go ahead and swap around, do the back. Now, with everything torqued, we can start getting ready for the rest of it. Your package should have contained 36 3/4 inches of number 40 single roller chain, as well as a master link. You should have received a sprocket, a retaining ring, and the key for the shaft. So we're gonna go ahead and start by sticking the key in the shaft. If it doesn't want to go on initially, you might want to try flipping it around a couple directions. Sometimes one way goes in easier than the other. You could also flip it end to end, but it should be tight, but not too tight, but definitely not loose. Next, we're gonna go ahead and get our sprocket on there. We want the teeth to be facing out. So we'll go ahead and line up the key and work that on there. And if you have trouble getting the sprocket to go on there, make sure that all of your, the 2 set screws are pulled out. We're gonna go ahead and push this all the way on. It doesn't go very far, but we wanna leave a little bit of room for the retaining ring. So next, you're gonna grab your clip ring pliers. And if you've never used clip ring pliers before, a lot of these can be set so they're external or internal. So we want it set so that they are together when it's not being used. And then when you squeeze it, it pulls it apart. And that's gonna give us the gap we need to get this on here. So squeeze it just enough to get it on there, and it should fall right into the slot there. Once that's in place, go ahead and pull your sprocket. Oh, see, clip ring just settled. Go ahead and pull your sprocket all the way out onto the retaining ring. And then we're gonna grab our 3/16 Allen and go ahead and secure those set screws. There's not a lot of room to work with here, so I suggest having about something with about an inch worth of throat here to be able to get in and rotate it. So if you got a little stubby guy, you may not be able to get in. All right, sprocket is secure. So next we need to get our, we're gonna get our chain on there. First, down here we have our tensioner assembly. So this is just an idler pulley. It just spins. And then just beside it, we have 2 low head screws that also use our 3/16. We're gonna wanna loosen those. And it doesn't have to, they don't have to come out, just need to be loose enough that we can slide this assembly up so that we have enough room for the chain to come through. If you need more room, if these are down, you can just unscrew these so that they're up. I have a little bit poking through here, but not too much. And again, that just uses, if they're tight, that's just a 3/16 Allen key. So once we come down to our chain, we want our master link to assemble somewhere in this area. It is the easiest to get to, and unfortunately at the moment, the best way to get into our sprocket here is to feed it down from the top. Feed it down through the top, and you can just stick that excess down there for now. Come over. Make sure that we are engaged on our lead screw sprocket. And it looks like I didn't quite give myself enough here. So we'll just pull a little. So I'm gonna push this assembly up, give myself a little bit more. Boom, there we go. And we're gonna grab our master link. And I usually like to come from the machine side, so from behind. Stick it on. Stick the little plate. And then we have our retaining clip. And this is where your little needle nose pliers come in handy. I find it easiest, so if you slip this on so that the front is just barely captured in the tip, and then you can take the bottom part of your pliers on this stub here, and then the top part of the pliers, of course I just unseated it. Top part of the pliers come to the back side of that retaining clip and just lightly squeeze till it clicks. And there you go. So now we have all this loose chain here. if we just push this down, that takes the slop out, and this doesn't have to be tight. So we can go ahead and just finger tighten these screws. I want to say we're probably looking for about a half a chain width of displacement, so we're probably about to have a whole chain width at the moment. So we'll go ahead and give ourselves a few cranks on here. Actually, looking at this is not level here, so I'm going to back this side off and see if I can drive this one down more so that this plate evens out a little bit more. Seems like might be getting jammed up here on our screws. Yeah, there we go. About a half a chain width of displacement, and that's pretty good. So once we have the correct tension in there, we're going to go ahead and get these guys secured back down. And now that it's secure, and we've got tension on our chain. So now our final steps here are to get our final placement. So we're going to move around to the front side and double check that our line is coming in at the correct angle. It's coming in straight to the drum where we want it. And then if we need to move it around at all, we're going to move the whole sled from side to side, which we should be pretty close with the lines that we made. To lock it in place, we just have some unistrut nuts, stick in the back here. All right, so I already went ahead and did the back side. We have our line coming into here, and I can just by visually looking, I can tell that we are coming in straight to where I want. You can't see my point up there, but we are in the correct location. So we have already done our fine-tune placement adjustments. So now we just need to tighten these guys down. All right, so now our Spotline V2 is secure to the Zero Fleet Sled. We have the sled secured down to our floor, and we have the sled positioned correctly. We have the sprocket installed. We have chain installed and tensioned. So the last thing we need to do is plug it in and run it. So I am currently running it forward or up. And as you can see, the sled is traveling that direction, traveling towards the motor. And we're gonna go reverse, and it's gonna come back to me. So we have a couple safety features in here. You can't run too far. If you run farther than it can travel, the lead screw is just gonna sit there and bounce. And so this is coming all the way back. And the same thing's gonna happen on the forward direction. There's a spring with a washer there, so it'll push it back on. So now if I wanna go forward, the spring pushes it back onto the lead screw and it travels forward. However, if this happens, your limits will be off. When we first set up the carriage position, this gets us into our correct travel location for our line coming in here. So this is where we want to measure our 34¼ inches again to start loading our drum. And again, that's from the end of the plate to the face of the carrier here, which 34¼ on the money. So now we are positioned back to where we want to start loading our drum. And that's how you set up your Spotline V2 Zero Fleet Sled. Enjoy.